Hi, I'm Shannon with Home Alchemy Living, and welcome back. I had meant to release my Mudroom Phase 2 at least a week and a half ago, and of course, life got in the way, as it almost always does. And I, had some hiccups, but anyway, here it is. In the next few moments, I'm going to show you how I completed the project, how to begin the project, how to use, how to even, kind of get it started, and there's little tutorials attached throughout the video. At the end of it, I show you the supplies that I used and some of the tools that were involved, and I hope you enjoy. I hope you learned something from my video. If so, or if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me an email or comment. I'll respond as soon as I can. And my next video will be how to use a miter saw. I feel that a lot of times when we get started with a project, we kind of get the main course and we need to start with the appetizer. So I'm feeling a little hungry, so hence my food analogies there. Just knowing the basics, how do you use your miter saw? How do you use a table saw? How do you use your stud finder to find the studs when you're attaching boards or doing some kind of big room renovation where you have to attach, drywall or board and batten, beadboard, etc. So that's what I hope to get into next with my next video. I would love to tell you that I will be rolling it out next week, Monday, but alas, the last time I tried doing that, it didn't quite work out. So hopefully going forward, once I get over some of these speed bumps that I'm encountering, will be a little bit more regular with how I'm getting this out and the exact day that I'm getting it out. I'm always shooting for a Monday. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy the video. And more importantly, I hope that there's something that you learn from it that can help you begin to transform your space or give you the confidence that you need to get started on maybe a small project to begin. All right, thank you. These first few photos are of the before and after of the mudroom. The first two pictures are looking in towards the back of the hall, which is attaches to our garage. And the next two are from the garage, looking out towards the front. The very first step you want to take is you want to use a pry bar to remove your baseboards and then sweep away any debris. After that, you want to use a stud finder. Simply turn it on, run it slowly over the wall until the bars light up. Once they do, you want to take a pencil and mark at the top of your stud finder where you located the stud. Then you want to continue down your wall and find each stud. Let's say they're about 16 inches apart. Next, you want to take a level and mark off vertical lines where you found those studs. Just makes it easier when you're attaching your boards going up the wall. The next picture I just kind of circled so you could see our pencil lines. For that first board, you want to make sure that it's nice and level. So just make sure your bubble sits exactly in the middle of that level. Then attach your board. For the shorter walls, for obvious reasons, we used a smaller level. Next, if your room has a light switch and awkward angles, for us we used a bevel angle finder. And we use that to find that awkward angle you see up there in the left-hand corner. You simply set the angle and then you can trace it onto your boards and cut. Either with a miter saw, circular saw, jigsaw, you can use any of those. Other things that I have read is that you can use a formula, especially I read this on Genesue Design. Find that angle, divide it by 2, subtract from 90, and then you can set your miter saw to that angle and cut. For the light switch, you have to make sure that it comes out to the same width or thickness as your shiplap. Here we just use a little scrap piece of shiplap to determine how far out to pull out the light switch box. To get the shape dimensions for your bottom board, you're going to cut, you want to measure from the wall to the box, let's say 4 inches over. Mark that spot on the board. Then you want to measure from the side of the box down, let's say about 1/4 inch deep, to get your depth. Lastly, measure from one side of the light switch box over to the other side to get your width, let's say 3 inches wide. Simply use those measurements, then trace and cut with a jigsaw and attach. Next comes the top board. Here, you want to measure again from the shortest wall to the side of your light switch box so you know how far in to mark for your cutout shape, or simply use the wall to box measurement from before. Measure the length, let's say it's 3 inches tall, then the width, 3 inches wide. Then again, trace this onto your board and pay attention that you're cutting the part without the tongue. You want the tongue part to be facing up so that it can lock into your next board. Lastly, some of the tools, actually all the tools that I have used for this project were shown. And my favorite of all, other than the braid nailer, is the DeWalt measuring tape. It's fantastic. It gives you the exact measurements in between your inch marks or inch measurements. Because let's face it, very rarely do you get a perfect measurement right up to the exact inch. Here I used a speed square or a carpenter's square to make my lines nice and straight. I also used a trim kit from Lowe's that already has your angles cut. All you have to do is measure from the top of the door to the bottom to get your length and just cut off what you don't need at the bottom. We used 12-foot and 8-foot primed tongue and groove shiplap from Home Depot. And of course, last but not least, I had to include my wonderful project supervisor. He came into our project quite a bit to make sure we were doing our job right. Last but not least, a few more before and afters.